everybody, and welcome to this video which focuses on question 2 on paper 1 of the AQA GCSE English Language exam. Now part 1 of this video will go through what the examiners have said about this question. I'll give you some tips and tricks on what you need to do in order to get full marks, and I will also provide you with an example of an exercise for this question. Now part 2, which will be another video, will go through the full paragraph structure for this question and provide you with a flowchart which you can download from my website, and also it will give you a practice exercise so you can have a go on your own. So question 2 is based on Assessment Objective 2, which is to explain, comment on and analyse how writers use language and structure to achieve effects and influence readers. You have to use relevant subject terminology to support your views. Now, question 2 focuses on the language element of Assessment Objective 2. It's worth a total of 8 marks, and in order to reach the detailed and perceptive level 4 band, you need to make sure that you focus on the effects of the writer's choices of language. So you need to be able to analyse the effect of specific words within the quotes that you've chosen. You need to select a judicious range of textual detail, and that means making sure that your quotes are varied and that you include them and analyse them in detail. And you also need to use sophisticated and accurate subject terminology. And I'm going to go through now what that means. So the example paragraph that AQA Exam Board included in the mark scheme was this. Now actually, if you read through it, it might on the face of it look quite complicated, but it isn't really. It's just standard point, quote, explain. So what they've done is they've answered the question, they've included quotes, and then they've analysed the words within those quotes, making sure that they include inferences and suggestions about those specific words. Now, what they have done is they've included what type of words they are. So, for example, if they've analysed the word force, they've made sure that they've said that force is a noun, and they've also made sure that they've said the word exposed is an adjective. So that's one of my tips immediately, is you've got to go away and you've got to learn all of those different word classes. So is the writer using an adjective, a verb, a noun? Okay, so you've got to make sure that you are clear on what each type of those word classes is. And also you need to make sure that you focus on your inferences and your suggestions of what those words suggest about what's going on and how they answer the actual question that you've been given. So the lowdown on question 2 is this really. You've got to really make sure that you analyse the words within the quotes that you've chosen and think about how they have an effect on you as the reader. You need to focus on specific words and phrases, so don't just language feature spot, you've got to focus on the words themselves. And make sure that you take your answers from the line numbers which will be listed in the question. If you choose a quote from outside of these line numbers, which does answer the question, but it's outside of that line number section, you cannot be awarded for it because you're not answering the question. So really, really make sure that you choose your quotes from the line numbers that are stated in the question. Perhaps you could draw a box around the section that you're analysing, and that might make it more of a visual kind of backtrack for you to make sure that you pull your quotes from that section, or just highlight specific sections if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you, but make sure that you actually focus on the line number specified. I would suggest writing 3 point quote explain paragraphs for this question. Now, I've said not to language feature spot, but it is useful to know the different types of language features that you could look for, and read my rules is a good way of remembering some of those language features. So if you want to pause the video and take a note of those now, then that could be useful. If you know it already, you can skip straight ahead. I have got a separate video on my channel on Read My Rules if you want to go through these techniques in more detail. Now, as I said before as well, you need to know the word classes. So the top 4 you need to really know are nouns, verbs, adjectives and adverbs. And I will be doing a separate video on word classes and providing examples for each of those. So, this question, how does the writer use language to describe the atmosphere in the Port of Dover, is a great example question to go through. Now, this is the format of the question that you will be given. Now, normally you'd be given line numbers, but as this is an example task, I haven't done so for this particular task. So you are given 3 bullet points as well. You are asked to consider words and phrases, language features and techniques, and sentence forms. Now, we've, as a department, the department that I work in, we've spoken to the exam board and they've hinted that they may be getting rid of that bullet point sentence forms because they found that it is quite confusing. So I would advise you to not focus on sentence forms for this question. I would just look for specific words and phrases that answer the question itself. So that's a big tip. Just look for words and phrases that answer the question. So what we're going to do in part 2 is we're going to read through this Bill Bryson Notes from a Small Island extract, and we're going to have a look at the format that you need to write your paragraph in based on this extract. So if you want to pause this video now and have a read through it, what we're going to do in part 2 is we're going to actually pull out some of those quotes, some of the words and phrases that answer the question that we've just looked at, and we'll go through a point, quote, explain paragraph with the flowchart that you can use for question 2 on paper 1.